A budget that only says no can make ordinary life feel suspicious. Every coffee, grocery upgrade, birthday plan, haircut, or family errand starts to feel like a test. That kind of budget may look disciplined on paper, but it often fails in real life because people need room to live. The spending floor and ceiling method fixes a missing piece. It gives the week a lower line that protects normal comfort and an upper line that protects the future. Between those two lines, you have a lane. The lane is where normal life happens without guilt and without drifting into chaos. The floor is the amount that keeps the week humane. It covers food that actually works for your schedule, transportation, small family needs, household basics, and the kind of modest enjoyment that prevents rebellion. If the floor is too low, you'll spend anyway, but you will spend with guilt and confusion. A realistic floor is not weakness. It is engineering. It admits that a person cannot run a full week on theory. The floor says this much room is allowed because life is real. The ceiling is the point where the week stops expanding. It is not there to shame you. It is there to keep one flexible category from swallowing the rest of the month. Without a ceiling, every purchase can sound reasonable by itself. Dinner is reasonable, a delivery fee is reasonable, a quick store run is reasonable, and a last-minute plan is reasonable. The ceiling asks a better question. How many reasonable choices can this week actually hold? That question turns a vague budget into a visible boundary. Set the floor first. Many people start with the ceiling because they want control. But if the floor is unrealistic, the ceiling will be broken before the week has a chance. Look at a normal week, not a fantasy week. Count the groceries you truly use, the fuel or transit you need, the small household replacements that keep appearing, and the social or family rhythm you are likely to maintain. Do not inflate it, but do not starve it. The floor should feel like enough oxygen. It should not feel like a dare. Then set the ceiling with the future in mind. Ask what has to remain protected after the week is over. Rent, savings, sinking funds, debt payoff, emergency cash, and future bills all need a boundary around them. The ceiling is the line that keeps flexible spending from reaching into those jobs. It is easier to respect a ceiling when you know what it protects. A random limit feels arbitrary. A limit that protects next month's peace has a reason. Reasons survive longer than moods. This method is especially useful for categories that swing. Food can swing. Gas can swing. Social plans can swing. Home errands can swing. Kids' needs can swing. A strict single number often breaks because the week is not identical every time. A floor and ceiling gives you a range. If the week is light, stay near the floor and let the extra money strengthen another goal. If the week is demanding, you can move higher without calling it failure. But when the ceiling arrives, the answer changes from maybe to plan it later. Use simple signals during the week. At the floor, life is covered. In the middle, choose normally. Near the ceiling, slow down. At the ceiling, stop improvising. Those signals are easier to remember than a complicated list of rules. You can even build them physically. A floor marker, a middle lane, and a soft stop gate. The video can show this as a warm room with two bookends and a clear path between them. In real life, it can be one line in your notes. The power is not the tool. The power is the range. The method also removes some emotional noise. If you are below the floor because you skipped normal needs, you are not winning. You may be creating a rebound. If you are above the ceiling because one week had a true exception, you are not doomed. You need to name the exception and decide what changes next week. The range turns budgeting into calibration instead of confession. That is why it feels easier to repeat. You are not asking every purchase to prove your character. You are asking the week to stay inside a lane. Watch for 3 mistakes. The first is setting the floor so low that resentment becomes part of the plan. The second is setting the ceiling so high that it does not protect anything. The third is moving both lines every time you want something. The lines can be adjusted, but not in the middle of an urge. Adjust them during a calm review. If the floor keeps failing, it was probably too low. If the ceiling keeps failing, the category may need a smaller trigger or a more visible stop. Each failure is data, not a verdict. Imagine the week as a room. The floor is solid enough to stand on. The ceiling is high enough to breathe under. The space between them is where real life can move. That is a more humane budget than a list of forbidden things. It gives you permission and protection at the same time. When a budget has both, it stops feeling like a cage and starts feeling like a lane. The floor and ceiling method works because it treats money like a room instead of a jail cell. The floor keeps the room usable. The ceiling keeps the room from expanding into the rest of the house. A person needs both. If there is only a floor, spending can float upward without a stop. If there is only a ceiling, life below the ceiling may still feel deprived and chaotic. The range creates shape. Shape is what makes a budget easier to live with. Try the method on one category before using it everywhere. Food is a good test because it contains both need and drift. Set a floor that covers realistic groceries and basic meals. Set a ceiling that includes a little flexibility but stops repeated convenience spending from taking over. Then watch the week. If you stay near the floor, you may be able to move extra money to savings or debt. If you move toward the ceiling, slow down before the final days. If you hit the ceiling early, the category needs a design change, not a lecture. Maybe the floor was too low. Maybe the weekend plan was missing. Maybe lunch needs a backup. Social spending can use the same idea. A floor protects connection. A ceiling protects the month. You do not need to say yes to every plan. You also do not need to disappear from life to save money. Put social plans inside a range and decide ahead of time which ones matter most. A birthday dinner may be worth the room. A random convenience stop after the dinner may not be. The range lets you choose without treating every invitation like a crisis. The method becomes especially helpful for couples and families. A single strict number can feel like one person's rule imposed on everyone else. A floor and ceiling can become a shared lane. The floor says what the household needs to function. The ceiling says what the household wants to protect. The space between them gives people room to choose. That makes the conversation less personal. It is not about who is bad with money. It is about where the lane should be this week. The floor and ceiling method can be reviewed with one simple question. Did the range match the real week? If the floor was too low, the week probably felt cramped. If the ceiling was too high, the month probably lost protection. If the range worked, you may not remember it much, and that is a good sign. A useful money system often feels quiet because it removes drama. You bought what the week needed, stopped before the future was harmed, and did not turn every decision into a debate. The method also helps with paydays. Paydays can create false permission because the account suddenly looks larger. Set the floor and ceiling before payday energy arrives. Decide what normal life gets, what flexible spending gets, and what the future keeps. Then the new money already has a room before it starts wandering. This is how a budget becomes calmer. You're not trying to hold every dollar in your head. You're giving the week a shape before the week starts talking. When the ceiling is reached, the next sentence matters. Do not say, I failed, so nothing matters. Say, this category is closed unless there is a true need. That sentence keeps one overage from becoming a spiral. It also makes the ceiling useful even when the week was imperfect. A guardrail still works if it tells you where the road is.